Hey guys, I decided to do a video in which I discussed the top 25 best movies of 1992 because that's the year I was born, and also I will include a list of honorable mentions. Alright, here are the honorable mentions. 1492, Conquest of Paradise, A League of Their Own, A River Runs Through It, A Tale of Winter, Alien 3, American Me, American Samurai, Bad Lieutenant, Baraka, Beethoven, Belle Epoch, Benny's Video, Candyman, Citizen Cohen, Cool World, Dead or Alive, Death Becomes Her, Digstown, Far and Away, Fonda on Fonda, the Glenn Ross, Hero, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, Howard's End, Husbands and Wives, Indochine, Invasion of the Bunny Snatchers, Lessons of Darkness, Like Water from Chocolate, Lorenzo's Oil, Love Field, Man Bites Dog, My Cousin Vinny, Of Mice and Men, Passenger 57, Passion Fish, Pet Cemetery 2, Porco Rosso, Pure Country, Rapid Fire, Romper Stomper, Sidekick, Single White Females, Sister Act, Stalin, The Hand That Rocked the Cradle, Stop and My Mom Will Shoot, Strictly Ballroom, Super Cop, The Player, The Power of One, Thunderheart, Tom and Jerry the Movie, Trespass, Twin Dragons, Universal Soldier, Unlawful Entry, Wayne's World, Wuthering Heights, and Young Indiana Jones and The Curse of the Jackal. Alright, those are the honorable mentions. Now let's get to the top 25. Okay. Number 25, we have Three Ninjas. This is a childhood favorite of mine. I love this movie so much. The action is awesome and both hilarious at the same time. And I've seen both of the 86-minute theatrical version as well as the 90-something minute extended version. And the extended international version has a lot of scenes in it that were moved to the theatrical. And I like the international version more, and especially has a better ending than the theatrical one. That's a very good movie and the start of a very funny karate franchise in the 90s. Number 24, we have Army of Darkness, the final movie in the Evil Dead trilogy. When I first watched this on TV back in 2009, I had no idea that it was part of the Evil Dead trilogy because I never heard of the Evil Dead trilogy. I thought it was just a standalone film on its own, but I found it very amusing, very funny. The special effects were a bit outdated now, considering that it was the 90s when the early days of CGI, but the CGI was pretty cool, even though it looks cartoonish, and the action is pretty cool. I love Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams in this movie, and the two other ones I watched years later in the Evil Dead trilogy. He is so hilarious, so cool, and he's like, all one-liners and snarkiness just never fails to make you chuckle. Man, he's pretty good in the fight, too. Number 23, we have Hoffa. Hoffa is a very good movie about the life of truck union worker Jimmy Hoffa, a guy with mob connections who disappeared in the 70s and hasn't been discovered since. And the ending implies that he was murdered by the mafia. Or it betrays it, doesn't just imply it, but maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, we don't know. But Jack Nicholson gives an excellent performance as Hoffa, and Danny DeVito gives an excellent performance as his buddy. It's a very good movie, and I recommend you check it out. 22, we have Hard Boiled, one of the best Hong Kong action films ever. A rip-roaring shoot-'em-up action adventure starring Chow Yun-fat, directed by one of Hong Kong's greatest directors, John Woo. It is cool, it is action-packed with a bit funny moments, and the hospital scene is one of the best shootouts in any action movie from the 90s. 21, we have a movie that I think is very underrated called Leap of Faith, starring Steve Martin. It is a parody of a religious phonies who was exposed in the 80s named Peter Popoff, who by a skeptic magician named James Randi. And in the movie, the character that's based on Popoff is played by Steve Martin, and he does a very good job. And he also, the movie also takes a few shots of that other fake faith healer, Benny Hinn, who is is a crook. And because like Steve Martin is one scene in a revival meeting where he takes off his jacket and swings it at people. But also, this movie is not anti-religion. I mean, because it has a religious message in it still, and it implies that, spoiler, it implies at the end that Steve Martin finally believes Christianity at the end. Well, his character, I mean. It has a good supporting cast, including Deborah Winger as his assistant, Jen, and Liam Neeson as a skeptic sheriff who's based on James Randi that's trying to expose him. I recommend you check it out. 20, we have El Mariachi, the first movie in Robert Rodriguez's Mexican trilogy about a Mexican drifter carrying a guitar case full of guns. This movie explains the origins of the guy, and how he's just a normal guitar player looking for a job, but then events lead on to, at the end, he finally does become an armed vigilante. And this movie is a you don't have to watch this movie to understand Desperado Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Because I first saw Desperado Once Upon a Time in Mexico before I saw this one, because I had never heard of it. My mom had never heard of it either. Because most likely because Antonio Banderas is not in this one. Somebody else plays him. But it's a good movie. And I recommend you watch a Spanish version with English subtitles, because an English dubbed version makes the dubbing in it makes it boring. It is what it is. Number 19, we have Under Siege. This is a very good Steven Seagal movie directed by Andrew Davis, in which Seagal plays Casey Ryback, a former Navy SEAL now working in the Navy as a cook, whose ship gets taken over by terrorists, and he raises a one-man army war against them. This is basically like Die Hard on the high seas. Instead of Die Hard in the building, it's on a ship. There's a lot of action in this to keep you pumped. A lot of cool Aikido moves and gunshots from Steven Seagal. He really busts some moves in this one. It's about a lot better than a lot of the B-movie crap that Seagal makes today, but this was when he was young and in his prime, and he was acting. His acting wasn't as bad as it is today, and I recommend you check this out. Also, Tommy Lee Jones does a good job as the villain. 18, we have Patriot Games, the second movie in the Jack Ryan trilogy that started in 1990 with Red October, continued 92 with Patriot Games, and ended in, I think, 1995 with Clear and Present Danger. Harrison Ford was the best Jack Ryan out of all the other Jack Ryan actors, whether it be Alec Baldwin, Ben Affleck, Chris Pine, or the guy who plays him in the TV show. They all did. Harrison Ford topped them all, and he should return for more sequels, but sadly he didn't. And James Earl Jones gets a good performance as his boss in the CIA. And Sean Bean does a good job as a terrorist who wants to kill him and his family as revenge. I highly recommend you check it out. Number 17, we have Fermgully, The Last Rainforest. This is a very good movie. It's an animated fantasy adventure movie for kids. A lot of humor, a lot of drama, a lot of action. Little action thrown in there. And this is about a bunch of fairies who live in the rainforest that's being sabotaged by these greedy people who want land and money. And one of the humans, Zach, he's shrunk down to fairy size, and he's befriends the fairies and realizes the forest is worth preserving. It's a very good movie with an environmentalist message, and the voice cast does an excellent job, including Tim Curry as the villain, Exus, and especially Robin Williams, who makes his animation debut in this movie as the voice of Batty. At number 16, we have Home Alone 2, which is my favorite in the Home Alone trilogy. The original first three movies are they're the only Home Alone movies I care for. I don't care for any of the sequels after that, but the second one is my favorite one. I love that instead of trapped at home, he gets on the wrong plane, flies to New York, and then the bad guys in the first one are also there. They broke out of prison, and when they run into him, they try to get their revenge on him, and he sets these traps in this old house that one of his relatives used to live in that's being renovated, and all the traps are hilariously dangerous, and of course that stuff could kill you in real life if you went through it, but this is just a live action cartoon. It's not meant to be taken literally, and it's a fun holiday Christmas movie, and it's one of those sequels that is better than the first one, in my opinion. Number 15, we got Lethal Weapon 3, which is my favorite sequel in the Lethal Weapon franchise. My favorite movie overall in the Lethal Weapon franchise. I love the chemistry between Riggs and Murtaugh. It's great as always. I love the subplot where Riggs helps Murtaugh overcome psychological trauma of having to kill a kid in self-defense. And I like how Riggs in this movie finally meets the girl of his dreams when they team up with Lorna to take down the bad guys, and Stuart Wilson does a good job as the villain, who's a former cop, and Joe Pesci, he's back and funny as always as Leo gets, and the rest of the cast and crew does an excellent job. It's very fun, fast, action-packed, and hilarious. I highly recommend it. Number 14, we got A Muppets Christmas Carol. I have seen several different movie adaptations of A Christmas Carol, and I used to read the book every Christmas when I was a kid. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and in this adaptation with them featuring the Muppets as supporting characters, and Michael Caine as Mr. Scrooge is very well filmed, very well directed. The humor is great, the acting is great. Sometimes they break the fourth wall, and Michael Caine did a good job as Scrooge, and the songs are pretty good too, but not very memorable as songs in most of their musicals. And my favorite adaptation of A Christmas Carol, though, is the George C. Scott version. But this is a great movie. I highly recommend it for you to watch every Christmas. For 13, we got Batman Returns, the second movie in the Batman's movie series from 89 to 97, and this was the last one to be directed by Tim Burton, and he does a good job with this. I mean, a lot of parents hated this movie, though. They said it was too dark and violent for kids, and I mean, the first one was dark and violent too, but I don't think that one got much hate, but it's good as always. I love Danny DeVito's performance as Penguin, and I love the effects on him, how they made it look like he had like penguin flipper type hands, and I love Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. She's sexy and tough at the same time, and the innuendos and the double entendre she does with Batman whenever they fight is very hilarious. And I like Christopher Walken as the villain Max Schreck. He does a good job as a greedy businessman, and it's almost like, I think Christopher Walken said he based his performance on Trump. I don't know, but it's also a Christmas movie. It's set during Christmas, so you can watch that every Christmas too. Number 12, Basic Instinct, a very sexy, very exciting, suspenseful, erotic thriller starring Sharon Stone and Michael Douglas. It is one of Stone's best performances, one of the best villain performances in any movie, one of Michael Douglas's best performance, and it has an ending that you will not expect. You think the killer is one point, and another point you think it's someone else, and then it's finally revealed at the end in a very shocking manner, and nobody dies when it's revealed, just for spoilers. So I didn't spoil any character death at the end. And it takes inspiration from the neo-noir films of the 40s and 50s, and Sharon Stone, she's sexy in this role, and very seductive, very alluring, and Michael, he's cool, and he's a cool detective trying to solve the mystery. I recommend it. Is Francis Ford Coppola's adaptation of the classic novel, and this is one of the best Dracula adaptations I've seen. It is cool. It is authentic. It is historically accurate with the costumes and the set design for the 19th century. It is action-packed too. There's some cool fight scenes, a big battle at the end that's interesting, and the performances of the cast and crew are great. Anthony Hopkins, Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, and the great ensemble supporting cast all do excellent and well. I recommend you check this out too. Number 10, we got Reservoir Dogs, the directorial feature film debut of Quentin Tarantino, a very cool crime film about a bunch of gangsters who try to plan a robbery. It doesn't go well, and they end up in a big shootout at the end. It is It has all the trademarks of a Tarantino movie that will continue on into his other great films in the future, including nonlinear timelines, brutal action, excessive profanity, and references to pop culture and whatnot. Tarantino is the man. Number 9, we got Scent of a Woman. It's a remake of an Italian film from the 70s, and it is set in America with American characters instead, and Pacino plays a blind Vietnam vet who is traumatized by the past, and has this guy named, played by Chris O'Donnell, is hired to be his chauffeur and basically babysit him, and Al Pacino really pulled it off in this one, and he really deserved the Oscar he won for his portrayal in this movie. It's very good, and I recommend you check it out. And Last of the Mohicans, Daniel Day-Lewis's action-adventure epic Western film, which he plays Hawkeye, the main character in the classic James Fenimore Cooper novel, Last of the Mohicans, which is set in the colonial days of America during the French and Indian War, when the British and the French are fighting each other, and they both have Indian allies, and Hawkeye and his 2 Indian sidekicks, Chinonka, who is a last of the Mohicans, and Hawkeye's adopted father, and Uncas, Hawkeye's adopted brother. The performances by the cast and crew are all excellent. The beautiful cinematography, the rousing theme, the action is brilliant, including the final showdown at the end, and Madeline Stowe is beautiful as Ada Monroe, and the whole cast and crew. This is a good movie. 7, Chaplin, the biopic of Charlie Chaplin, in which stars Robert Downey Jr. as the famous silent movie comedian. It portrays Charlie Chaplin's career and from his early days as a little boy in England living in poverty to his movie star days in Hollywood and England, where he stars in a lot of silent comedies that never fail to make people laugh, and it also has the controversial aspects of his personal life, like his relationships with women who are much younger than him, and the harassment by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI to expose him as a communist that turns out to be hogwash. Robert Downey Jr. really put his all in this role, and I think he was still on drugs when he did this, but he was able to overcome it a little when he was playing the role. 6, Aileen Wuornos, Selling of a Serial Killer. It's a documentary about the life of Aileen Wuornos, a female serial killer on death row in Florida, who was interviewed by British filmmaker Nick Bloomfield, and features not only interviews with her, but also with her lawyer and her friend Don Botkins and her girlfriend Tyra Moore, and it features courtroom footage of the many trials that Aileen went to, and it tells a little bit about who Aileen was and where she came from and how she became to be a vicious killer and the psychological aspect of her crimes. It's very interesting. I recommend you check it out. Number 5, we have the Tom Cruise movie, A Few Good Men, in which he plays a military lawyer handling a case at a military court. It is a very interesting courtroom drama and a very good movie. I love Jack Nicholson's line, "You can't handle the truth." I recommend you check it out. The Bodyguard, starring Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. This is a very good movie, a romantic thriller about a former Secret Service agent who now works as a freelance bodyguard, and then he is hired by this famous pop star played by Whitney Houston, and at first he doesn't want to work with her because he sees her as a stuck-up celebrity, but then they slowly become friends, and then they fall in love, but then he ends the affair quickly because he doesn't want to get too involved with her, and because he thinks it'll jeopardize his mission to protect her, and it's a very good movie, and I recommend you check it out. I know a lot of people hate it, but I love it. Malcolm X is definitely both the best performance Denzel Washington has ever given and also the best movie that Spike Lee has ever made. It is a biopic about the life of Malcolm X all the way from his childhood to his criminal days to his conversion to Islam and his work as a civil rights activist and eventual assassination. Denzel Washington really pulled off this role very well. He never fails to disappoint in any role he's in. The acting by the supporting cast is well done. The writing, directing, editing, cinematography are all excellent. Aladdin, the highest grossing movie of 1992, and one of my favorite movies ever since I got the VHS for Christmas when I was like, I think three or four. It tells a story of Aladdin, the Middle Eastern guy who finds his lamp, he rubs it, a genie comes out, and he granted all his three wishes to hopefully win over his love interest, Jasmine. And the voice cast in this movie all give excellent performances, and my favorite my favorite of all of them is Robin Williams, who should have gotten nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this role. He is hilarious in this movie. Just all the one-liners, the ad-libs, the shape-shifting of the genie are all so excellently well thought and well done. And Unforgiven is truly Clint Eastwood's magnum opus of the 90s. He directed, produced, and starred in it very well. The editing, the cinematography, the acting, the themes, of real life versus the romantic, mythical version of the West. It portrays the West as a dark, violent time when the life of a gunfighter isn't something to be emulated. It is a tragic, depressing job to have, and it is not some heroic hero's journey type thing. And Gene Hackman really did deserve that Best Supporting Actor Oscar. He won, and Clint Eastwood really did deserve that Oscar. Those Oscars he won for Best Director and Best Picture, and he earned them well. You the man, Clint. Alright, those are my favorite movies in 1992 and top 25, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more great content. Thank you, and God bless you.